Apparently, marrying robots and holograms is a new reality. But just how many people have married a robot or hologram so far? Seeing as that technology experts suggest technology marriages are soon going to be a normal part of our lives, it seems the foundation has already been set. Let's find out more. Building my love. Zheng Jiajia is an engineer and a graduate of Zhejiang University, China. He is 31 years old and married to a beautiful young woman named Ying Ying, who he built in his apartment. Ying Ying is a robot. She can only say a few words, but her husband is her designer and he has every intention of upgrading her as the technology becomes available. First on the agenda is to teach her to walk, and after that, to get her to work doing some chores around the house. It's not every day a man builds himself a wife, so it's not surprising that Zheng Jiajia's story has spread in its fair share of viral articles and videos. It has all that strange and weird appeal that the internet loves, but it's not as unusual as it seems. Believe it or not, Zheng Jiajia is far from being the first person to marry a robot. For instance, this man, who calls himself Dave Cat, married a real doll, a lifelike silicone and anatomically correct female doll. Another man named Ned Neefer married a mannequin's head that he pushes around town in a wheelchair. And it's not just men either. A woman in France is fighting for her right to marry a robot she made with a 3D printer. Why would anyone marry a robot? It's easy to write the people who marry robots off as mentally ill, but there's something bigger going on here. According to Dave Cat, there's a whole community of people who have given up on love with human beings and looking for build love from scratch with silicone and computer chips. At the heart of every one of their stories is almost always the same thing: excruciating loneliness. Zheng Jiajia built his wife after being left by the woman he thought he was going to marry. His parents, his says, kept pushing him to find a wife, and since he couldn't find one in real life, he did what he could do: he built one. Dave Cat likewise just opted out of the challenges of dating women. I'm not interested in having someone who may bail at any time or who transforms into someone unpleasant, he told a reporter. His artificial wife is easier than a real one. An epidemic of loneliness. Even if most people aren't ready to go down that road, this might be an extreme symptom of modern life. Today, our friendships often play out more on computers than face-to-face, and some think that it's creating an epidemic of loneliness and a changing idea of what a relationship means. Japan has been hit the hardest. There, 1/3 of people over 30 have never been on a date, and 1/4 of all men say they're no longer romantically interested in women. Some call these men asexual, but that's not exactly accurate. Most of them aren't dropping out of physical intimacy altogether, they're just replacing it with virtual girlfriends and video habits. And when a huge chunk of a population is ready to go down that road, the idea of just up and the idea of people deciding to marry robots starts seeming less and less crazy. Robot wives for sale. Some people think that pretty soon these stories are going to stop seeming so weird. Japan isn't the only place where people are opting out of love. Marriage rates in the US are the lowest they've ever been, and some think that all the lonely people left behind are going to make stories like this one start sprouting up more and more often. That's what Ricky Ma, the inventor of this Scarlett Johansson robot, is banking on. Ricky Ma invested $50,000 and 18 months or work into making an eerie, lifelike, talking robot that looks exactly like Scarlett Johansson. That's a lot of effort for a weird kink, but it doesn't seem like Ma just did this for himself. Ma is looking for investors because he thinks he can sell these things. Writer David Levy is convinced that it will be legal to marry robots by 2050. Same-gendered marriage, he argues, seemed crazy and outrageous 35 years ago, but as it became more common, our attitudes changed. He's convinced that will happen with robots too. And even if most people won't go as far as marrying robots, Professor Adrian Chiok thinks that love with a robot is going to become as normal as browsing online. Actual intimacy with humans may be like going to a concert, he predicts, and intimacy with a robot will be like listening to an album at home. When you're at home, you can listen to Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. It's good enough. And once or twice a year, you'll want to go to Royal Albert Hall and hear it in a concert hall. Not the only ones. Jeff Gallagher, who lives in Queensland, Australia, has also fallen in love with his humanoid robot Emma, and now the man cannot imagine his life without her. His love has now progressed to the point where the man is willing to marry the robot. Jeff Gallagher's mother, who lived in Queensland, Australia, passed away 10 years ago. Since then, he has shared his home with his pet dog Penny. Jeff also turned to artificial intelligence to deal with his loneliness. However, he had no clue that his relationship with the machine would transform into an emotional one. To cope with loneliness, Jeff Gallagher purchased a robot a few years ago. He conducted extensive market research before picking a humanoid robot to accompany him. The name of the robot was Emma, and she had human-like blue eyes and wheatish skin. The robot became Jeff's companion in September 2019. The head of the robot can be assembled, and it wears a white dress and can also communicate. Although the robot is unable to stand by itself, Jeff frequently takes her out in his car. A smartphone-like screen at the back of Emma's head controls the language. Emma is powered by AI and is becoming smarter every passing day. The humanoid robot has become an important part of Jeff's life in the last few years. According to him, he has a unique relationship with Emma and she stays with him all the time. Surprisingly, he considers Emma his wife, who also wears a ring on her finger. This, even though they are not married. Jeff hopes to be the first person in Australia to marry a robot one day. He believes that by sharing his story, others will be inspired to have robotic companions as well. More interesting stories. And that's not all. Another Japanese man has taken the plunge into robot-human partnership. Akihiko Kondo from Tokyo has married his Gatebox virtual robot. The Gatebox virtual robot was designed to be a companion for people who want to give up on dating, but do not want to be lonely. Gatebox can text Kondo while he is at work, turn on lights when he was coming home, brush her teeth with him, carry on a conversation, and more. Kondo named his hologram Hatsune Miku. Miku is a hologram of a 16-year-old female singer. Kondo and Miku married in early November in front of 40 guests. None of Kondo's family attended the wedding. Kondo spent 2 million yen or $17,600 on the ceremony and matching wedding rings. Kondo has a stuffed version of Miku that he sleeps with. "I never cheated on her. I've always been in love with Miku-san. I've been thinking about her every day. I'm in love with the whole concept of Hatsune Miku, but I got married to the Miku of my house," Kondo told media. While the Japanese government does not recognize this union as a legal marriage, Gatebox issued the couple a cross-dimension marriage certificate. Kondo is not the only person who has received one of these. According to Gatebox, they have issued 3,700 cross-dimension marriage certificates. Analyzing the reasons. Why are people marrying robots? The gender gap in China and Japan may be partly to blame. According to a World Economic Forum Global Gender Gap report, for every 100 women born in China, 114 men were born. The report ranked Japan at 111 out of 144 countries on the gender gap scale. It also says that the average length of single life in Japan is 30 for women and 31 for men. This gender inequality results in more single and lonely men that are turning to unconventional partnerships. Falling population rates is another factor that will affect partnerships. Since 2015, Japan's population rates have been dropping rapidly. According to 2010 and 2015 census reports, Japan's population dropped by 1 million people in 5 years. In 2018, for the 37th year in a row, the number of children born in Japan dropped. A 2015 report on aging populations predicted that 40% of Japan's population will be defined as elderly by 2050. The rising interest in hologram and robot marriages could be linked to these population problems, and so it surely looks like technology marriages are not going away anytime soon. There are plenty of questions that can be asked about this trend, but for now, we will just have to wait and see how this plays out. That's all for this video, folks. See you another time.